This is an intro. Intro.
Hustle and Float Chart with your boy,
My boy.
Matt Wolf and Joe Fair.
Hey.
What's up, everyone?
Hi.
Welcome back to the Hustle and Float Chart podcast.
Yeah, we're so polished sounding.
What was that? That was like a...
Well, you know what it was? I started listening to Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend.
Oh, it's so good.
And I listened to the one with Jeff Goldblum, and he
I haven't listened to that one yet.
This.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he does this.
You're kind of
funny-
creeping me out because you're doing the face along with it.
Because it's exactly what he does.
How
And
could you see him?
because I've seen enough YouTube videos and movies of him, and he does that.
All right.
He calls himself very jazzy, and
Yeah.
he does it with all of his body and gyrates everything.
Interesting.
This is literally what he sounds like. So, I don't know.
I've not listened to the Jeff Goldblum show, but
It's
Conan O'Brien Needs a
friggin'
Friend.
hilarious.
Second best podcast I've ever heard.
And you'll love all the ads too, because he actually makes them fun. Like
Oh,
we
the
do,
ads
too.
are amazing.
Even though we don't have ads like he does.
Yeah.
But even though he always says, "I want to pay off my beach house,"
Yeah. He literally says, this is a section I call Pay Off Conan's Beach House.
then you hear
And
seagulls in the background,
and he pays off his ads for his house with ads.
Well, one day we'll be, I don't know, running ads like him or something. But
Yeah. You know what we should talk about today?
yeah, probably today's episode, huh?
We should talk about copywriting.
I guess we could.
You know,
Do we have an expert or something on this show today?
Yeah, today we're talking to Adil Amarsi.
Correcto mundo.
And Joe always gives me crap because I always mispronounce his name.
What do you say his name?
I always pronounce his name right when I'm talking to him. When I'm not talking to him, I always call him Adil.
That's true. Or Advil.
I've never called him Advil,
Okay.
but it's Adil.
Adil, you can give him
Amarsi.
shit. I correct him every time. I'm like, it's not because it bugs me. It's because Adil is a sensitive man.
Oh, you'll hear how sensitive he is on this episode.
It's total BS. But yeah, we're talking to Adil today. This dude, we were on his show last month, and he claims he's been chasing, I think, you more than me, which is totally fine because you have a secret admirer.
I've been the object of his
His eye.
his desire.
Desire for like 5 years, he said.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you've avoided him for that long.
I've never avoided him. I just don't remember seeing these messages. My gatekeepers must have been too good of a job.
All those gatekeepers.
All my gatekeepers.
Ankle biters. Yeah. So we somehow Adil paid us off enough to go on our show.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to disclose how much he paid, but it's a freaking shit ton of money.
Totally.
Not really. And but yeah, dude, this turned into a masterclass in copywriting. That wasn't how it started, but that's
Well, we talk about daily routines and habits and kind of getting into a good flow with your day and things like that. And then we shift into like copywriting talk. And, we've had other episodes in the past about copywriting, but this is probably the most tactical copywriting episode we've ever done, where he literally gives you copywriting formulas to follow. Like when you write a headline, write it like this. When you write bullets, write them like this. When you structure a landing page, structure the copy like this.
don't use this word. All these different little subtle formulas and kind of principles that he uses for copywriting. And, of course, he has deeper dive trainings and whatnot. But in this podcast, this masterclass, basically, you're going to walk away with all that stuff.
So if you've ever struggled with writing great copy for your product, you need to listen to this. And if you don't listen, you could be leaving a lot of conversion percentage on the table.
I'm sure you would be. Because
So make sure
even
you
if
tune
you're
in.
not a great copywriter, if you don't want to be, it still helps you be a little bit more persuasive with everything you do.
I may or may not have used some of Adil's copywriting
is that what
techniques
that
in
was?
those statements.
I like it.
You know what?
Yes.
You know what else we talk about on this episode?
What?
We talk about our traffic book for a minute.
Oh, hey, yeah. We did. Adil brought it up because he loves it.
Well, we
And
asked what his favorite book was, and obviously that was the one he mentioned.
the first one. Yeah, the Evergreen Traffic Playbook. And this thing is, basically just lines out in great detail our traffic strategies. And because we have multiple little subtleties to all this stuff, we interviewed a ton of people. So the guests and their favorite traffic strategies are in the book as well. And
We're actually getting ready to update it.
we are going to update it. Yeah.
So by the time you hear this, there may be an updated version, or it will be coming very soon, and we'll
Either way,
email
you'll
you
get
about it
notified.
when it's ready. And yeah,
Just make sure that it's totally free if you just go to evergreenprofits.com/traffic book. No spaces or dashes. It's evergreenprofits.com/traffic traffic book.
And one more time for good measure, evergreenprofits.com/traffic book.
You notice that like Conan on his show too, and he's not a marketer or anything, but he like says the URL like 4 or 5 times.
That's because he has marketers who work for him.
100%. But it's just funny to hear someone like him who doesn't do any kind of ads, and like he gets all like, I don't know. Some people just get really awkward and stuff, and it's like he's like
he embraces it. He leans into that shit.
He
it's
does,
awesome.
But he's like a total podcasting newbie, so it's kind of entertaining to just because I'm like, I know what he's going through here.
Yeah, for sure.
But
all right.
you know, we're pros here.
Evergreenprofits.com/traffic book. We're gonna go talk to Adil Amarsi.
Oh man, Adil, you can kick his ass. You have my permission.
All right, let's go talk
protect him.
Let's go talk to Adil.
Hey, Adil, we're live.
Hello. Yes.
Yeah. Are you ready for this?
I think we need to tell people about the discussion we were just having before we hit record.
How do we describe that said discussion?
I think we can sum it up by singing Dayman. I think that's what
No, it was a conversation about Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and now we all have this song Dayman stuck in our head.
And Matt and I will learn that on guitar and serenade everyone very
Can you
soon.
sing it for us real quick? How does it go again?
Just I'll do the part.
But I don't know the other part.
I don't either. Apple knows.
I'll join in where I know. It's like Dayman, fighter of the night, man. Champion of the sun. He's the master of karate.
It's been too long. I don't remember where the let's go in.
Yeah, that's really all I remember.
All right. Anyway,
that's a good start. It's a good start. All right, Adil, thanks for hopping on the show with us. This is fun.
You guys are welcome.
You guys are in for a ride.
Oh man, if this is gonna be anything like our show together on my podcast, yeah, you guys are gonna have so much fun.
Yeah.
Most likely it will, and we should link that in the show notes as well.
Yeah, whatever. That's not even out yet, is
Actually,
it?
it's not released yet.
It's not released. I think it'll come out around the same time this one comes out.
Ooh, that'll be cool. So if the episode we did on your podcast is out at the same time, we'll post it in the show notes. And if it's not, we'll post it in the show notes when it is out.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here.
But pretty much anytime the three of us get together on a call, well, we don't get together in person because you're not allowed to get together with us by law.
Yet. Soon.
Yeah.
Soon.
We always have a good time. We end up talking about stand-up comedy and other fun stuff that we won't get into right now.
Now people are going to be interested, like, why is he not allowed? Like, and we don't.
I think we should just leave it at that.
No, exactly. I want to leave it like that.
Yeah, he's not allowed in the United States right now.
He's killed a man.
No,
yes,
he's not.
There are so many avenues you guys are teeing me up for, I can make jokes for, but I'm like, just don't do it, man.
All right, so
you guys just caught up with me.
All right, there'll be plenty of times to slip them in throughout this conversation.
You should.
Yes, I purposely said slip it in. Let's go ahead and let's get right into it, though, and let's talk about your backstory. We're curious.
Yeah. How do we describe Adil? I don't even like.
How do we describe him? We don't need to describe him. He'll describe himself.
Oh, okay, cool. And then we'll figure out how to describe.
I think they'll get a very clear idea of me at the end of this episode.
Perfect. All right, let's do this.
So let's get into your story. How did you get into the world of marketing and copywriting and all the stuff you're doing now? Kind of tell us that story arc there.
Okay, so I'll try and keep this brief because I know I can kind of go off on tangents. So essentially, for my preamble, basically my dad was paralyzed when I was 5 to about 7 years old from the waist down. He had a herniated disc, if I remember correctly. And I have an older sister. She comes into like partial reason of this part of the story. You don't really hear from her part of the story for the rest of this, for what I'm going to say. Anyway, she basically used to... So the 90s had 2 channels in the UK that like you just basically fought over. You had Cartoon Network versus Nickelodeon. You had those in the US, but in the UK they were like the big deal.
Yeah.
So me being 5 years old, I wanted to watch cartoons. My sister being several years older than me, I'm not going to reveal her age, but because she might slap me. Love you too, sis, if you listen to this. She basically used to always beat me up and watch Nickelodeon. So I came up with this idea that I would sit down and watch whatever my dad was watching for as long as he was watching. And then when he moved, I would change the channel. And then he couldn't get mad at me because I'm like, dude, it's like 6 o'clock. Let me watch some cartoons. Right? So it was fine. But my dad's favorite shows were down to 3 things. The first one was a game show called 15 to 1. It was like Trivial Pursuit, but with 15 people. Like you ask them questions, they get eliminated over rounds, that kind of thing. Think Weakest Link, but far more Trivial Pursuit and more like higher level intelligence because they were asking really hard questions. The other show that he loved watching was a show called Countdown. I don't know if you guys have that in the US.
Don't know that one.
I don't think so. I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, basically the rules are you get there's two contestants and they have 3 overall rounds. I think it's like they have 4 mini rounds like inside the inside each of the bigger rounds. So basically it starts off with they take turns where they ask for either consonants or vowels up to like 9 letters. And then they have 30 seconds to make as many words up with those 9 letters with the highest point percentage, like point potential. So 8 words, or if you get 9, you get 18 points, or 6 or 5. I think the smallest you can go was 4. You can get lower than 4. So my dad's entire obsession with that and me watching it obviously helped me come up with the love of words. But there was also a mathematical component where you'd be able to pick either you get, I think it was 6 numbers, and you can either have small numbers, which are 1 to 10, or big numbers, 25, 50, 75, 100. They'd make up like a random number, and you had 30 seconds to solve it using the numbers that were given to you. So you're like, okay, cool, high-level problems to actually solve right then and there. And the third one, which throws everyone for a loop, is actually where I get most of my salesmanship from, is my dad loved watching the home shopping channel, like QVC.
Yeah.
He would literally watch Billy Mays for 2 hours a day. So like for 6 days a week, 2 hours a day, for 2 years, I had Billy Mays basically being drummed into my head. So obviously I learned a lot from him.
Did your dad ever buy anything, or was he just like, I just love this dude and I just want to listen to him sell me shit?
Yeah, that, and it wasn't just him, but there was like a few others, but Billy Mays was the main one.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like the huge thing back then. I was like, really? Why do I have to watch this? But I just sat through it. And then I was like, when I was 12, when I was 11, 12 years old, my school teacher basically pulled my parents aside and said, your son he's smart, he has potential, but the problem is that he writes very, very slowly. He'll get to the bottom of a page. Like once I get to the bottom of a page, if I accidentally put like the comma or whatever, any punctuation at the end of a page, if I don't put it perfectly the way that I very, very much saw it in my mind, I get so frustrated I just rip the page out and start again.
Oh, wow.
Like I'd start the whole page again. So my teacher was like, that's kind of a problem, but they didn't diagnose me at the time. But if I went to school now, I'd get diagnosed almost immediately. But like back then, no diagnoses given, which was lovely. They just told my parents, please get him to write more. And that would just get him to practice how to write quickly. So my dad took this as a challenge. At this point, again, he could walk. He'd been running a company at this point. He'd been like doing some imports and exports in that business with one of my uncles. Basically, they used to get me to write stories for them about whatever was in the office, whatever I'd see, whatever I could think about. I just have to write a story about it. Around a year later, my parents separated for a little bit. So me, my mom, and my sister moved to another neighborhood. My dad lived in another neighborhood entirely, but my school was in my dad's neighborhood. So my time to go to school was, I think I took like 30 to 40 minutes to walk to school and walk back total. To now 2 hours a day. I had to do an hour on the bus each way. Bit of a socially awkward kid, so I just sit there and basically write down a bunch of notes and stories for my dad and just write about them all the time. This went on for years because I'd give my dad these stories all the time. Fast forward to me at 18 years old. The way I got into marketing was my old Thai boxing coach actually introduced me to network marketing first. I grew my downline team really quickly, and then there was like a little infighting between me and him. It was a bit weird. So I turned to like trying to get out of his downline. I wanted to start my own whole thing. So I went online and started looking at traffic exchange websites. Like I think Traffic Swarm was one of them, like really way back in the day. Built up my mailing list, wrote a blog post about the network marketing company I was with at the time, and had 10 unique people view this page. Still a little blogger page that I had going. Nice. I had 7 of them pay me money and join my team. Like 7 people, I had no idea who they were. They just joined my team. And I'm there 18 years old going, what the hell just happened?
It's a good feeling.
around this time, a couple of months later, I end up going to Mark Anastasi's event in London on traffic generation. I was like, oh, this would be cool. At this point, I still don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm like, what do I do? I know there's a couple of cool people. I know about Frank Kern, blah, blah, blah. But I'm just a dumb kid. I don't know what's going on. At this event, I get really close with a lot of the speakers who end up eventually becoming clients. And I also realized at the time that I wanted to be a copywriter because the inkling started to begin, because I was like, oh, people pay you to write words. That's interesting. Cool. And then again, I started doing door-to-door sales, trying to do different things while actually trying to support myself. And then it all changed a couple of days before I want to say my 19th, my 20th birthday. I think it was my 20th birthday. It was a couple of months after that first event. I was at this other event and I got to crew for the green room. And the guy asked me, what are you good at? I told him the story about like telling people to see my site. Some people paid me. They're like, oh, you're a copywriter. I was like, the hell's one of those?
What is that?
Like, you get paid tens of thousands of dollars to help people sell their stuff. I was like, people do that? I was like, cool. So excited I went out. But I had like low self-esteem, so I charged as little as possible because I was like, why would anyone pay me money? I'm a guy with no name. But I was really good at networking. So I got a lot of like people just being very interested in like working with me, helping me, training me, letting me run promos for them. And this all built up very, very quickly. So like 19 years old, going through it, did door-to-door selling for about 6 months at the time. And still running like, trying to write copy, trying to get clients. And at the time, I was like cranking out full sales funnels in 6 hours.
Jesus.
Like you'd be like, hey, Adil, I need a ClickBank sales letter, email sequence for the swipe file, launch page, upsell, downsell, and thank you page for customers after they bought. How long will it take you? I was like, oh, I can get that done in 2 days. Or I get that done in 1 day. Wow. I don't know if you guys remember a guy called Dax Arut.
I remember the name.
He had this really cool. It was groundbreaking at the time because it was a WordPress theme that was like $2,000 for the WordPress.
I do remember
theme.
him. He was partnered with Jason Moffat for a little while.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah. Okay. So at the time, I like connected with him. I wrote a letter for him, and in about 6 hours, it was overnight. So he sent me a thing, wrote it in 6 hours. That letter went out to his list for a monthly continuity. We did $25,000 the next morning on one email that we sent out, and that was monthly.
Wow!
Like that was a monthly $25,000 recurring. It was a $49 product. So I was like, cool. So I got my chops. I know what I'm doing. And this continued on. I started to build up really quick wins to the point that I think my first $1 million client that I had was a real estate training company that heard about me. They paid me £3,500 at the time. This is 10 years ago. At the time, it was around $7,000, I think, $6,500 or $7,000. And I was like, wow, that's amazing because I'd never been paid that much money before.
Yeah. But
they also factored in that I'd get 3% of the first week of mailings. So whatever came in the first mailing in the first week I'd get 3%. After that, it would be like their profit, but it was a £15,000 course. So it was like nearly $30,000 to do this like 1 year long course and have like people train you or whatever. I wrote this letter, mailed it out. I remember I was still doing door-to-door sales at the time. And I remember I was in debt as well. I was knocking on a door and my phone rang. It was my bank asking me for money. I was like, I'll send you guys some money as soon as possible because I'm a commission-only salesman. So I'm not very good at my job because I don't like being told no and it feels weird. Anyway, fast track that through. I'm literally there. 20 minutes later, I get another phone call. It's like, hi, yeah. And they're like, oh, please, is this Mr. Amarsi? I was like, yeah, could you please confirm your name? Cool, great, all your address. Like, just to make you aware that there is a very large payment coming into your account. We will be putting it under review, but if everything verifies and checks out, which it looks like it will, we'll basically release the money to you inside a week. I was like, oh, great. I immediately get a call from my client. Like a couple of minutes later, I was like, hey man, what's up? He was like, yeah, just double checking. The bank has said that they're going to need you to verify some documents, but we just sent you a payment. I was like, oh, cool. You guys mailed the whole thing because I didn't even track it at the time. They're like, yeah. If I remember correctly, the figure was they did 6 million in sales in the first week. after factoring, because in pounds about half, so about 3 million sales in the first week, factor in the refund rate and everything else like that, I basically walked away with about $150,000 at the end of that day.
There you go.
So I had about 80 grand in my account at the end of that day. I was like, yep, that's a good number for me. I'm happy with this. Quit my job, started going down the copywriting path, and just basically, I wouldn't say I've never looked back, because I have looked back a couple of times, but since then I've just gone on to constantly develop my craft.
That's pretty awesome, man. Wait, so you were working a job? So that was the last time you worked for anyone else, right? So you've been full-time copywriter?
No. I did take one last job. I think I was 22, and I had to work the Christmas period for a retail company. That was the last time I had a job, was working for a retail company 7 years ago.
Got it.
So I have a question, but I'm a little worried to ask it because I feel like it'll come across as like a dicky question.
Go for it.
So here's one thing I've always wondered about, like really, really great copywriters. Like when a copywriter gets amazing at their craft and they're really, really good at selling stuff through the written word or through scripting videos or that sort of thing, I've always wondered, why wouldn't that copywriter go and take their skill and instead of writing copy for other people, take that skill and either write copy to promote affiliate products or write copy to, create their own courses and sell that course. Why do so many like world-class copywriters go and sell their service instead of using the skills that they have to just, pad their own bank account?
I can't answer for other copywriters, but I can answer for me. For me, it, like I mentioned earlier, I had really low self-esteem. So it took me it still takes me a really long time today to actually even be okay to say what my results are. I mean, to give you guys an idea, we're recording this in March. As of now, I've done like 570 something million for my clients in the last 11 years of being a copywriter. Those are not bad results. Those are actually extremely great results, considering the bulk of that only came in the last 4 years. But the reason I can't is, well, I didn't, at least for a long time, was I did do the affiliate promo route. I did actually start using, do you guys remember sniper sites?
I remember the name.
Like the
SEO
Google sniper,
stuff?
like George Brown, Google sniper stuff.
George Brown, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So I made a killing on that.
Yeah, I could see that.
The funny thing is that system, the sort of Google sniper kind of concept where you're creating content and raking it for SEO and then promoting affiliate products off the back end of that stuff.
It still works.
It's the same system that we use to make most of our money today. We just added PPC advertising into the mix as well.
Yeah, it's a proven system. It works for sure. I think after a while, I just got tired of having to write content constantly. So I didn't want to, because it wasn't, in my mind, it wasn't quick enough money. Because I was young and I was trying to, again, we had this discussion before where when you're young in the advertising world, sometimes you want to put your name on everything, but as you mature, you kind of want to take your name off everything.
100%.
Yeah. So that was basically me. I was like, yeah, let's do this. And I was like, but I want to mature out and just be known for being this copywriter, but I didn't want to just be a copywriter. I want to do all these other crazy things as well. But the reason I didn't was I had a really hard time, because I started so young. I had a hard time finding my voice. So whenever I wrote copy, even content, if you go back to if you look at the last 3 years of my social media posting or any of the video, whatever, I don't put a lot of stuff out there. It's not because it's not like I don't have anything valuable to say, or I don't have anything that I could teach people, because I do love teaching this stuff. The problem I had was I didn't know how to put it out there in my voice and it making an effect to everyone, because I try and say it, but it would come out weird when I wrote it down. The concept would be really strange for people to understand. So I was like, how the hell do I do this? So that's why it took me so long. And now, obviously, I do have my own training course. I'm rewriting sales letters to that and all the email promo stuff, and that's going out in around the same time this show goes live. So yeah, I'm actually moving towards that whole thing where I'm basically starting to pad out my own bank account.
Gotcha.
But
that's cool.
The other reason to why I actually still write and offer my stuff as service, like how possibly how I work with other people I really care about and want to work with. Honestly, it's experience, and the other is I get bored like, I'm going to swear for a second. I get bored shitless. I get really bored. So that's why I usually have about 4 or 5 projects going at the same time.
No fucking swearing on our show, please.
Yeah, hell no.
Yeah, how dare I swear? Fuck.
You broke the damn rules. No, dude, I like what you're saying, because I could relate to this, because I think you and I are similar in the fact that I did a crap ton of client work back in the day, and very similar. I didn't know my voice for a long time. I didn't do a lot of public stuff because I was so interested in doing the work that I was doing, but I was demanding, at first very little money, but then a lot of money for these projects. And I'd be like, oh shit, this is a lot of money. So then, like, for me, I wasn't thinking about the stuff like Matt was doing, which was training, growing an email list, doing the affiliate stuff. Like, I was just so freaking in on the client stuff. And
see, I've always been like that opposite spectrum. To kind of speak into this whole conversation a little bit, I've always been really good at, building funnels, doing tech stuff, doing written content that's not persuasive, just like, how-to tutorial type content. I've always sort of had a good grasp of the technical behind the scenes stuff. The copywriting was always sort of my blind spot. I've read a lot of copywriting books. I've bought a lot of copywriting courses. And to this day, I think all that stuff has really done for me, has gotten me really good at looking at existing copy and finding areas to tweak it, but I still can't write copy from scratch to save my life.
Yeah. Which is why you have me.
Exactly. No, it's true. And I'm decent at kind of getting something going, but yeah, definitely it's not the skill set. That's why, the 3 of us are talking tomorrow as well.
I always think there's like a weird thing that happens too, where when you run your own business, writing copy for your own stuff is the hardest copy to write. Like, you're so close, you're so attached. There's a very emotional attachment to stuff that you create yourself, that creating copy to sort of like sell your baby that you've poured all this time and your heart and soul into, like, that is the hardest copy in the world to write, is the stuff that you have that strong emotional attachment to.
Right. And something that John Benson said to me when he was reading through like one of my sales letters that he was helping me with, was he was like, dude, why are you writing that? If you read this, it just reads like you're trying to prove to yourself that you're worthy to sell this thing. I was like, really? He goes, yeah, it sounds like someone is not convinced. Like, you're not convinced that you're as good as everyone else says you are. And it's true. Like, because in my mind, I'm like, oh, God, I don't know what I'm doing all the time. And then just ideas flow out. And every so often I have that genius moment where I just stand up straight, like, I'm the champion. Yeah. And then 2 days later, I'm like, what the hell am I doing with my life? More like 12 minutes, but still, I want to say 2 days in that time. But,
I feel like that's a typical entrepreneur right there too. So you're normal, because I know I feel that
normal
stuff.
In our circles.
Yeah. Normal is relative.
Normal is relative. You're right.
Yeah. So I was going to say, but something that you said, Joe, that really fascinated me was I actually still have a hard time charging a lot of money, but a lot of money is relative.
Right.
Because back in the day, I was charging $500 for like a full funnel. And today, like I say some, but like most of my clients pay me like upwards of 15, 20, 30 grand plus percentage to actually do things. But at the same time, I do take on clients that if I want to work with them, I will like cut a deal with them. Just because it makes my life a lot simpler, it makes their life a lot simpler. And I'm like, I actually want to work with you because, again, I want to hang out with these people and get to know them because I get along with them.
Right.
And as an entrepreneur, anyone that says that this doesn't happen, as an entrepreneur, you do get a little bit lonely if you're hanging out with people that have 9 to 5s, because you're like, you cannot understand the shit that I go through.
Yeah, you can't really, there's a lot you can't relate on.
Yeah, it's also like, why are you working late today? Oh, it's 2 a.m. I've got to get this thing done as a deadline. Why? Because, well, I said so. And they're like, well, why can't you do what we do and blow it off and do it in the morning, get up really early? I was like, because I can't. It needs to be done.
That's actually a pretty good segue into the next question and sort of topic I want to get into is, what does your day-to-day look like? Like, when you wake up in the morning, like, do you have any sort of morning routines? What does your typical work day look like? What kind of, processes do you have in place to make sure you're getting done what you need to get done? Do you have a nighttime ritual before you go to bed? I'm just kind of curious if you can kind of quickly walk through what a day in the life looks like.
Yeah, sure. And I'll say this. I'm going to give you guys 2 variations. One is when I have a lot of client work on board like I do at the moment versus when I'm like relaxing and researching a little bit more, because there's always 2 phases. And this has only recently become a thing for me, because before I used to like gunslinger like crazy. It's like, no, screw it, got to work like 6 days a week and take no breaks. On my Sunday, I got to make sure. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I found that my most the best way I can actually get everything I want to get done in my day is I have to write it down. So a typical day for me starts at 5 to 6 in the morning, or 10 to 6 in the morning. The first thing I do, get out of bed, grab my jiu-jitsu bag, literally run. I grab my clothes, my jiu-jitsu bag, and my shoes, and I run to my bathroom. Close the door behind me, get dressed, brush my teeth, do the whole thing, and literally out the door. If I don't do it that way, I won't get out of bed, and I'll just not go.
So you literally run. Like you're,
yeah.
That's awesome. I'm getting this visual. I'm like, I thought that was just no, you're actually legitimately running to get your ass out the door.
I thought you were going to say something else. Like you have to run because you have to pee so bad in the morning or something. So that's why you're running or something.
I wish that was the case. But no, it's never that case. Well, rarely it is. But I run straight to the bathroom. I take care of everything. And the other reason is because I got to get there before my cats jump down from like my refrigerator. Because they're in the kitchen and they know when I wake up, both my cats have this weird ritual. They know I'm going to go to the bathroom and they race me there. If they get to the door beforehand, I've got to like push them away and get in the bathroom, because if I don't, they get into the bathroom as well and they jump in the tub, and then it's like a real pain in the ass trying to get them out because I'm trying to leave. So I go train. I finish up my morning classes there. I get back, because this is going to change after the move. So like getting back to central London is a bit of a bitch. Getting back to like some moving further outside of central London, it's going to be a little bit easier. But I get home around 9:15, 9:30. I take a shower at home because I don't like taking showers at the gym. Take a shower at home. Get dressed, have a banana, and this again is changing, but only marginally. As of now, I still train with my PT from 10:30 in the morning to 11:30. I come home, take my second shower, and then I eat something and get started around midday. The new schedule that I'm going towards is in that day is once I finish training and have my shower, like after jiu-jitsu, that turns into I've got to make myself breakfast. And then it's spending an hour and a half just reading or drawing or creating. Basically, I need something creative to get my day and my brain going. After that, midday till about, I usually have it set till about 8 p.m. But the reality is from between midday and 8 p.m., that's copywriting work is built into that. Like if I'm writing something, then I've got to write between these hours. If I'm researching, I'll go research between these hours. Then it's social media posts if I have to make any, emails if I have to write any, follow-ups with any people, podcasts that I have to put together, just anything that I've got to do that's technical. And of course, I'm not going to be like, yeah, I don't have the TV on. I have music on. I have Netflix going. Sometimes I take a full half hour off just to watch a really dumb show or whatever it is, just to distract my brain, and then come back and recharge. Usually playing with my cats around this time. Around 5 or 6 p.m., I'll have some food and get something to eat. And then it's as I reach around 7, most times, most people don't actually book anything for after 7 p.m. for me. Like it's 7 p.m. is around the time that I get shut down. If I'm on a deadline, I'll work through until about 10 or 11 o'clock. If I don't have a deadline, I'm just chilling out, then 7 p.m., everything switches off. Just have some food. I put on a good movie. I read if I want to read. I listen to an audiobook, or I go for a really long walk. Basically anything to stimulate my brain. And just speak to friends. I text them, I call them, I see how you catch up with people I really want to catch up with and I care about. And then it's just lights out. Well, I say lights out. Usually I'm in bed for around 10:30, 11 o'clock is the time I ideally want to go to sleep, but the reality is I usually don't get to sleep until about midnight / 1 a.m. Last night it was 3:30 in the morning.
Oh wow!
And I was up at 6. So
gotta get that sleep, bro. Yeah.
You guys can handle that. I'm still sub 30. I'm still under 30, so I can get away with it for another 6 months.
You're old men over here.
Yeah. I think the day after, October 1st, the day after I turn 30, that sleep deprivation is just going to age me. I think that's what happens with, and I'm going to be a little racist and I apologize, but I think that's actually what happens to Asian men. I'm actually Asian as well, by the way, but not Far East Asian. I'm South Asian. Whole thing. I have to specify that for Americans. In England, it's you're Asian, so you're Indian as well. Yeah, we get that. I was I'm mostly Indian, so I count. That's what just ends up happening. Is that hustle, that need to succeed that you get born with from a very young age of its expectations from family and stuff. You won't be loved unless you succeed. totally a thing.
Dude, that's rough. Yeah, I can see how that's that's a driver, but at the same time, it probably knocks you down. You're like, God.
Where do you think the low self-esteem came from? That's like where it was born.
Of course, that's where usually everything's from the parents or whatever they were raised. Or it's just like freaking onion you're trying to get through and
it's
unravel.
societal and cultural as well.
Yeah.
So like going through that entire process, what was my point? What was my point?
Shit.
Yeah, that was it. So basically, like you just get really tired. Like you save up all that time that you're tired, and then the day after you hit, it's either 30, like the day after 30. Or 50 in some cases, like the day after you hit 50, you just age terribly, like so quickly. And one of my friends from Thailand, and he's half Thai and half Chinese, so I love him for this. We were watching Kill Bill and Kill Bill Volume 2, and Pai Mei, like the dude with the long wispy white hair and stuff.
Yeah.
He was like, I guarantee you guys, that'll be me on the day after my 50th birthday. So what do you mean? I look normal. I'll go to sleep normal. I'll wake up looking like that. I was like, seriously, like, you have no idea how much stress I have going on. I was like, damn, dude.
Yeah. I'm just getting great visuals.
Like, dude, I'm almost 36, and I swear, if I get like 7 hours of sleep, I'm groggy. I'm like,
is that too much or too little?
Yeah. That's too little.
Too little. Yeah.
No, I get about 8 hours every night. I rarely get less than 8 hours, but when we're like traveling for conferences and stuff, we never get 8 hours. And I swear, I'm like groggy if I drop below 7.
Oh yeah, like we were at Podfest, and just any conference, anytime, like even TNC, we're like so proud of ourselves to be back before midnight.
Yeah,
so we're just like, wow, we are. I don't know if we're older or we're just getting smarter or priorities.
We were like giving ourselves pat on the backs because there was like parties going on every night and we decided not to go to them.
It's like, I could go to this, but then tomorrow I wouldn't feel great. I know, smart adult thinking.
Right. I think this is the very first year we're like, oh, wow, this is how it's supposed to feel like. Smart adulting.
As we get older, the FOMO effect is like less and less. Like, I don't care what you're doing right now.
So I'm curious, is your routine, like, is there a purpose behind it? Like, I'm sure you sound very structured, even though I know you get bored easily. So I'm sure you change it up. How does that work?
So the way I have it, it's very... Okay, so this is quite a fun little segue. So just a little self-promo warning, guys. So the way that I teach copywriting is the exact same way that I have all the structures in my life. They're quote-unquote rules, more like the guidelines. The guidelines on what I want to do. And then I get to fill those times with whatever the hell I want to do. So my mornings are always structured that I want to train. I want to do some form of movement. Even if it's just... The reason I do jiu-jitsu is because, honestly, it's my place to meditate. Mm-hmm. It's my place to let myself just be myself and creative. And I live in a big city where a lot of my friends don't live nearby anymore. So a lot of my friendship circle has like shrunk significantly. Mm. So jiu-jitsu is just another way for me to connect with other people and other humans, and not be like cooped up and be like, what the hell? Like, the world is passing outside. I want to see it. But this is a great way to like meet people and, train my body and everything else. So jiu-jitsu is kind of like, that's my health in the morning. And I realized it was only like until like last September after my birthday, I realized the reason I really like working out in the morning and I don't like doing any work before midday is because most of my clients don't wake up until midday because they're in other parts of the world.
Right.
Secondly, I'm not really at my sharpest in the morning. Like, I want to kind of relax and put myself first and get my mind right, not really worry about the stresses of life. Mm-hmm. And again, jiu-jitsu, I can't check my phone. So that serves as a double purpose. Mm. And giving that myself time to actually like choose myself. So it's like you can have another training session. You can watch a movie in that morning. You can read a book. You can play a video game. You can do whatever the hell you want. You can that time of my morning is all mine. I can do whatever the hell I want. I can go for a really long walk and sort out furniture buying because
it's a big issue of yours right now.
Yeah, right now it really is. Like, you have no idea. You guys know because we had this discussion. But like, I did not realize that was my realizing that I'm maturing as an adult when I realized that I'm buying my own furniture. That's kind of like a thing.
Well, and here's a little side note just for folks listening. We told Adil about how most of the furniture is really made from one manufacturer, And Adam Ruins Everything is an amazing show to just probably piss you off a lot, but you'll learn a lot.
Yeah.
And
you learn about how the furniture industry is basically fixing prices to screw people over. But
in pretty much every other industry in different ways. But yeah, carry on. Just want to throw that out there.
No, I agree. Like you guys told me and that blew my mind. I was like, God damn it. It makes so much sense.
It's not
Again,
your fault.
it's the part that like you hate them, but also you're like, I totally respect your hustle here. It has to be done. But the way I look at it, like, so after that, like my eating pattern is something that my PT and everyone keeps telling me off for because I've never really had a good eating pattern, but I just know that I don't want to eat at least 3 or 4 hours before I go to bed. I like to eat and then wait a couple of hours and go to bed. But my day, like for working in the afternoon, I realize that's when I'm most productive. When the sun is up, that's when I like to work. When the sun is down, that's when I don't like to work. I'm just like, I can do podcasts in the evening. Like I try and schedule my shows throughout the day. But that's the reason my schedule runs till about 9 p.m. Like 8 till 9 is my last slot for any of my shows. And I'll take calls then because it's like, I'm talking, it's okay. I'm doing a podcast, it's entertaining. Like I said, those rarely happen. The evening is just fun time. It's like, do things that are interesting, that are fun. What can I do to relax? Am I going to go see friends? Am I just going to like chill out with my cats and play with them? Am I going to play video games? Am I going to play my piano? Am I going to find a way to like express myself artistically in any single way? Or am I just going to try and get some more work done? Because that's an option as well. If I'm on deadline, that's an option. But 9 out of 10 times, evening time comes, I don't want to work. I just want to like, that is my time to chill the fuck out. That's my time to like completely unplug and send you guys really random messages that get really, really mean. And I'm like, I've got to find a way to respond to these. So you guys get fumicade.
It is random oddball hours. I'm like, dude, it's like you should probably go to sleep. I'm like, yeah, you do you.
But you guys will figure this out as well. Like you will, like when I'm writing, like if I'm writing for something with a client and stuff, I know that's going to be like a launch thing rather than Evergreen. Sometimes you'll get emails from me at like 3 or 4 in the morning, like from my time, and you're like, "Is he still awake writing?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can sleep."
Well, this is. I'm just interested now because like it's funny. We haven't really touched a lot. We haven't touched a lot on copywriting, like tactics and all that stuff. But would you say that what we're describing now, your routines and your habits and the way that you free your mind, is that like a good foundation for everybody to kind of just get in the right mindset to write? I mean, for business, it just seems like this is kind of it. You're more passionate, it sounds like, about this. Or maybe it's just because we're asking the questions about this.
Yeah, we haven't even gotten into the copywriting tactics, which was the next avenue we're going to go down.
We could do that.
Thanks, guys. Just Joe's like, wait, I thought you would. No? Okay, that's next.
No, I'm just, it's interesting because I think this is something that a lot of folks don't talk about. And
I feel like this is good foundational stuff for no matter what you're doing, right? Like we're going to get into to copywriting and talk about some copywriting tactics with the last 20 minutes we have here or so. But as far as like setting a foundation for any business, I think having good habits, good routines, good sort of a morning routine and like some sort of health routine that you kind of get in the habit of doing. And, you have your hours that you kind of have figured out that this is when my brain is functioning at the highest level.
Well, that alone right there is so damn like smart. A lot of folks don't even figure that out. It's like, when should I work? And I'm thinking writing, I mean, that's like the most important thing you can be figuring out.
And for me, it's like if I have to do any sort of creative writing or persuasive writing, if I'm going to put my head down and write, it's not going to happen in the morning. It's going to happen at maybe starting 2 in the afternoon. And then my brain starts to fire on all cylinders where I'm like, all right, I'm in writing mode now. But I can't write before like noon. It's just not going to flow out of me.
Same.
Yeah, I sometimes can, but again, it just takes it out of me. It's like whenever I write anything, it takes time to build up. It just takes a lot of time. But one of the things that you did mention, Joe, that I really just want to answer is everything I do, I wouldn't say it isn't a bad foundation. It's a good foundation, but it's also because I've already done all the hard leveraged work that I had to do in my early years to get to this point. So there are 3 practices that I'll just tell everyone if you guys want on how to just like 3 practices I get every one of my younger copywriter, like my copy cubs, to go through to like really start understanding how to write.
Yeah.
Do you guys mind if I just share those?
Let's do it.
Like real quick. Number 1, pick a movie or a book or a video game that you are emotionally attached to. Like when you play this, you get really emotional to it. Like it really draws you in. 2, if it's a video game, find the cutscenes to it. Basically read that book, watch that movie, or watch the cutscenes of that game, and write down where the emotional markers are for you and what comes up. Like pause it, write it down, keep a journal. What this does, it starts telling you exactly what you emotionally respond to. And if you can understand why you will respond to that and what it is that's drawing inside of you and how that arc is connected, you now have the ability to use that same emotional, well, I wouldn't say resonance, but the presence that you have to that emotion inside your copy. You can you're consciously putting it in.
Right. Because it's typically like it's a subconscious feeling that you're not really expressing. You just internalize something, but now you're really starting to analyze this.
Exactly. It's like the whole thing with, I went to watch Captain Marvel, the Stan Lee tribute at the start of the Marvel credits. That made me very, very teary, but not, I didn't cry, but it made me feel teary. But the one that really got me was when I was playing the Spider-Man expansion game for on the PlayStation. But as soon as I finished this expansion game, it just had a picture of Spider-Man and Stan Lee and going, "Thank you, Stan, for creating this universe." And I was like, that's touching, because Spider-Man and Stan Lee were really, really close. And that's like a grandfather-son, a creator-child kind of relationship. And again, that kind of roots back down to the reason I feel that is because of the relationship I have with my father.
Interesting.
So I have a lot of that stuff going in my own mind. And that's really where it becomes really powerful for me. And how I understand. So that's the first task that I give every copywriter that I train. The second is to pick up a book called, and if you're not into this, I do have alternatives, but nearly everyone that I teach is into some form of crime drama. So I get them to pick up a copy of Chris Carter's Crucifix Killer, which is one of my favorite books. And I tell them to read through it. And the reason is because I have little tasks for them. They have to report back to me after they've read 10 chapters, which doesn't even take long because the chapters are tiny and short. So they send me a message, and the response I write back to them is 3 check marks. And the first check mark is, okay, do you have any idea what's going on and who the killer is? And they're like, no. Okay, or yes, they do. They have some theory of what it is. Second is, do you feel like going to look for the spoilers? Yeah, it's what emotions are you feeling as the third? And what this does, it allows them to really understand how to set up expectation in story-based copy, but also in actual reading stories. It shows you how to create setups, create that emotional wanting, that constant draw, that want of pleasurable release, but also keeping someone on the tenterhook. Just there, I really want to check the spoilers, but I won't because I really want to read this book. So it's you won't spoil it for yourself because you actually want to read it. So that's the second practice. The third is actually really, really, really simple. And I think every copywriter tells people to do this. And I'm very similar in the sense, get out a notepad and pen, not a digital notepad and pen, a literal notepad and pen, a legal pad if you must, and just start writing headlines. Just start writing headlines after headlines. Look at old direct response ads, write their headlines out, see how you could tweak them. And all this really kind of it breaks down to really understanding how to write the 85% of the copy. That is the most powerful part, is how do I create a headline that allows people to keep reading? And how do I start building that story up? Now, of course, my copy cubs at this point, they know my system of how I write with my structure. So they know exactly where the headlines have to go, where the subheadlines go, what the story part's open to. So they understand that the creativity that I have in my mind. So if you combine those 3 things, which is understand what the emotional markers are in your favorite movies, books, or games, read Chris Carter's book and understand how to build anticipation, want, and actual desire. You can do this with Stephen King as well, but I say Chris Carter because it's a little bit more modern and it really hooks you in from the very get-go. And the third, which, as I said, is basically get good at practicing headlines, because that's exactly what will draw people in. So those are 3 very powerful things.
I like that.
Use almost immediately.
I love it.
How do we, can you quickly break down headlines just for folks, like maybe a simple formula you have so people have an idea of how to start practicing these things?
Okay, so the first one that you guys know because we spoke about it on my show is never use the word learn in your headlines or any of your copy, actually. And you guys can go listen to my show with Matt and Joe, basically where I just dissect that because it's a whole rant. But take my word for it. We've tested it. Just don't use that word.
Yeah, basically, in short, learn is like another effort. It's another thing you have to do.
And it's another pain that's very subconscious to people that are entrepreneurial, and we avoid pain. So
correct.
They're going to avoid you. So there are three things that I teach. They're my three go-tos for my headlines. And they are discover, if then, and revealed. So dead simple would be discover how Matt and Joe figured out their traffic, figured out how to create thousands of unique visitors every single day using this very simple traffic source, whatever it is. That could be it. And the subheadline to that would leaves you with revealed or if then. And I like to pair them up. So you can go with discover this whole thing about like getting thousands of unique people using this one traffic source. If you're an entrepreneur or business owner or just an affiliate looking for a way to actually expand your reach, then you need to read every word below. If then headline, perfect. If it's a revealed headline, it's 1,000 uniques. Subheadline would be revealed the dirty insider secrets that marketers truly don't want you to know, brought to you by two people who corrupted the system. Very simple as like a way to actually like create that story. So the formulas are those three. Essentially, it's the discover headline has its own mini formula, which is thing that they're about to discover broadened down into a benefit that relates to them while also giving some credibility to you. So like one that I would use would be, give me a market, just any market. I don't care what it is. What would be a good market?
Jiu-jitsu, since we're talking.
Okay, excellent. Let's go with like very basic beginner course for someone in jiu-jitsu, or actually let's do an intermediate one because beginner is really easy because that's self-defense. Let's go with intermediate to get them to buy a course. They're already like jiu-jitsu practitioners. Why would they spend money on a course? It's dead simple. It would be because jiu-jitsu can be broken down into 8. I think it's like six to wait. Hold on. Guard, half guard, side control, mount, back mount, and then the stand-up. So there's basically 6 positions in jiu-jitsu that you really need to understand because there's top and bottom. So there's like 12, but still you want to understand them. So 6. You'd pick one thing. So you'd pick with like say takedowns for jiu-jitsu. And what you do, dead simple for that, would be a headline. Let's see. If you're getting jitters before shoot, if you're talking yourself out of going for a takedown against your opponent every single time you start standing, then read every word below. Revealed the 3 or like the 18 simple takedowns that anyone can do, even if they're a lowly white belt or an advanced black belt, to truly round out their game. And then the opening paragraph would just basically start off with like, well, this is how I came up with this idea, the discovery statement or the opening statement to it. It's like, so let's round out their game. One of the worst, or 2 of the worst words that I used to face in class was start standing. When my coach said start standing when we were sparring, the reason being I knew I could take guys down, but I was always scared of shooting for the double and I'd overthink it. And next thing I know, I'm on my back in a weak position, or I'm on top in a weak position. I'm not controlling the tempo. And of course, this really used to screw me up at competition time. It made everything I did a lot harder. That was until I started to discover how there are 18 little takedowns that you can pick up right away, implement into your game, and start reaping the benefits almost immediately. And you can be from a very, very, very low level white belt all the way to an advanced black belt. And I guarantee you will not know the full nuances of the system we're about to show you. The reason being, we brought in elite wrestlers to teach this while simultaneously applying it to a high level competition and analyzing what makes it work, the grips, the movement, everything is broken down. But before I get into that, let me introduce myself and tell you my own story of how I went from being scared of takedowns to taking down every one of my opponents at will, no matter how good their wrestling is. And then that's when you start the story. So you have like the headline, subheadline, opening paragraph.
That's pretty damn impressive, man. Do you dictate your copy?
All the time. Well, not all the time. Like I usually do it when I get hired to consult.
Yeah. That's that's impressive, man, because you were just breaking down that formula, but
now, do you use pretty much the same formula for like writing bullets too? Because I've heard a lot of people kind of describe bullets as just, you write a shit ton of headlines, and a bunch of those headlines, if they don't become the main headline, they can become bullets.
No, I have like a different formula for bullets. The bullet formula I use is quite simple. Point out the obvious and then give them a reason. So if like, let's just say, for instance, if we were looking at the same jiu-jitsu course, like module 1, for instance, because the thing that I don't do is I don't write bullet points in my actual main copy. I put bullet points specifically in just the areas where it counts, which is when I'm making lists, when I'm telling them what they're getting. Okay. That's it. I don't do bullet points on like trying to summarize whole sections of story, because I'm like, that doesn't need to be summarized. The way that I look at it, at least and by the way, this is like a breakthrough for me right now while I'm telling you, because I'm like, oh wait, no, I really don't do bullet points. And the whole reason for it is it feels like an interruption in a story. If your story is good enough, then people read all the way through until you get to the boring parts, and that's when you summate them.
So how would you combat like the skimmers, the page skimmers? Is that where subtitles come into play?
Subtitles, yes, but it's also how you write the story. I mean, people do this all the time, and it bugs the shit out of me. They have this thing where they write paragraphs as if they were still at school.
Right.
They're not conversational. Like, if you ever read any of the copy I put up, I rarely use 2 sentences in a paragraph. I usually use 1 sentence paragraphs or 1-line paragraphs. So the most I'll go to is 4 lines and turn that into a sentence and then start a new paragraph.
So it's just totally, is that readability for the most part?
Yeah. It's literally just to ensure that when people skim through, they get like the very, very, very important key things they need to understand. And all the parts that are bolded, like really just get them going. And again, going back to the whole bullets thing just very quickly, I tell people what they're getting, but I also expand. So for instance, with module 1, the correct hand grips. In this module, you will uncover how to place your hands properly on a gi and no-gi opponent in order to initiate the takedown. In this module, we're specifically going to cover where to place your hands on your opponent, because placing them in the wrong place, and this is in parentheses, placing your hands in the wrong place even by an inch actually changes the power dynamic entirely. Second bullet point would be foot placement and footwork, 5 drills you need to have that you can start today that will heavily improve your foot speed, takedown offense, and takedown defense. And then your third bullet point, or even 5th, would be and so much more. I always write in 3, 5s, and 7s, 3, 5, 7s, and 9s, and the last one is always and so much more, because it's an expectation. And it really like it pads out, but not fully pads it. It pads it out in someone's mind. If you're having a hard time like finding your bullets, just get the main ones out and let the and so much more, let it expand in the person's mind what the other stuff could be. So when you actually create it, there's more than what you've actually said. You just couldn't put it into words, and this is like a little sneaky shortcut there. And coming back to the skim reading thing, people, the way I say it, like people will skim read because they either know you or they're not really interested. Like the headline is going to catch their interest. If there's a video, that'll catch their interest. But 9 out of 10 times the way I look at it, and the way I'm actually going to be testing it, is if they know you, they'll skim through to see what the product is, and that's fine. Just make it very abundantly clear where the product is, where the order button is, and everything else, and they'll go buy. Remove as much fear as possible. If they're new and they're skim reading, that means your headline hasn't really done that great of a job, really.
Right.
Like they'll skim through, but if they don't come back and read it later, or they're not interested, your headline's failed you. Your copy's not really like keeping their engagement the way it is, and you've potentially lost a customer there.
Yeah.
And the third way,
go ahead and finish your thought.
I was just going to say the third way that I look at it as well is that, like, if someone reads your headline and it's actually a really good headline, and they come back later, again, like I said, very similar to the first point, they'll come back and read it and they'll buy. And the thing I'm testing against, this is my original third point, I don't even remember it. The thing I'm testing against is anytime I send an email to a very, very warm part of my list, I want to, and this is something I'm going to build up for myself and my clients. I want to send them to a sales page that is just a summary page. It's like, here's everything you're getting. Here's why it's important. Click this button and buy. And it's no more than 2 pages of copy. The headline is like, hey, I'm selling this thing. Read the reasons why below, and here's what it'll do for you. That's just the headline. And then underneath that, no story, no nothing, just bam, 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 buy.
And that's those are the people that already know you then.
Know, like, and trust you.
Know, like, and trust you. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're the most biggest skimmers that you'll find. And the ones that basically like need a lot more convincing and stuff like that, they'll get sent to the other one that has more information.
Yeah.
And that's something I want to test against. I want to see which one converts better.
Yeah, one of the guys that I worked with pretty closely a couple years back is a guy named Travis Sago. I'm sure you're familiar with him.
Love Travis. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that he taught me to do is kind of like you said, you can actually have 2 different sales messages for the people that are already sort of a warmed up audience that already know you versus just driving cold traffic to it. So he had this concept of essentially making a sales page that was nothing but like a headline, 10 bullets and like 2 testimonials, and that's your entire sales page. And those work extremely well to warmed up audiences, but that won't work well to, if you're just driving cold traffic from Facebook or something like that. And we've experimented with it quite a bit. We've even experimented with like putting the checkout right on that same page. So you have, a headline, maybe a sub headline, 7 or 8 bullet points, 2 testimonials, and then the checkout button
embedded. Yeah.
The checkout right embedded on that page. So it's all on a single page, like a 1-page funnel. And those have worked really, really, really well for us to warmed up audiences that already know that we exist.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. I love this formula. That was good.
How does some of these same concepts translate to video, or are you kind of, are you like pure written sales letter?
No, they've transformed to everything. Like, it's the way I look at it is when you understand. So I've alluded to this a lot, but the only reason is like I can run through like parts of it very quickly for you guys. So the way that I write my formulas, there's like 17 steps all the way through. And once you understand this formula, it's basically the Rosetta Stone. And then you can go look at other things and apply this formula to all of them. So like the headline, subheadline, that's just going on the page. But if you're doing a VSL, the straight thing that you got to do is many people have different formulas. And that's just the truth that I'm starting to understand fully is Hollywood has different genres that you have different writers for, right? You can't have this. You can, I guess, have the same director who is known for directing high world-class action movies, like high-octane action movies, then turn around and direct a period drama.
Right.
It's usually not really heard of. So same thing happens in copywriting, except for instead of like niches, what we have is like we just pick niches, but the truth is if we have genres, there's different styles. So John Benson, who is the godfather of the VSL, in my opinion, and factually actually, he does this thing where one thing that he likes to do is grab attention. And he has the nightmare story and all this. It's a brilliant formula. The way that I have mine set out is once I have the headline, subheadline, which is to tell them to watch the video, I go directly into that opening paragraph. So my headline, say for instance, would be discover how you could create copy in less than 3 hours using a very simple formula. If you've ever struggled to write your copy, I'm going to take you from complete novice to C-class copywriter inside 5 hours. Watch the video below. And the video is immediately going to go into meet Mark. Mark was one of my students who really didn't understand how to shortcut his copywriting chops. In fact, after he finished my training, he ended up getting his first $1,200 close almost immediately. And he wrote that letter in record time, and it converted better than anything else he wrote. In fact, I have a whole horde of these testimonials, but before I get into telling you what the formula is, let me introduce myself. So I've used the exact same formula, but I've done it in video. And then just like it's tweaking 1 or 2 little things.
Yeah. And I would assume webinars are similar. It's just maybe drawn out a little longer.
Yeah. Emails are the only ones that are strange because emails, you got to kind of like landing pages are different as well. Landing pages are just like headline, subheadline, bullet points, opt-in, testimonial. And this is a reveal, by the way. I started playing with this model back in 2013, 2014 for like putting testimonials on the landing page. I'm still consistently getting 50, 60% opt-in on like lukewarm and about 30 to 40 on cold traffic for opt-ins. Even to the point where one of my friends had 90.6% opt-in on his webinar.
Wow.
like, which is like Mike Filsaime called him and asked him how he did it, and he's like, no, my friend Adil did that. And I was like, oh shit, that's cool. But that's the formula for landers. The formulas for emails are a little bit different. You got to have like a subject line that's basically engaging, and then you have to have an email style that's like story based and quite interesting. Like Matt, you and I have discussed this very, very quickly, where I gave you like a very quick outline of how I would write an email. And the only reason I can kick that off of my mind and just go through that congruency is because I understand, okay, where is the person that's going to read this? Where are they? So it's always knowing your avatar. And how do I specifically use the formula I have in my mind to find the story that matches them? And to find the story, you guys, so I'm going to give you guys a heads up. This is where I go supersonic and crazy, and it's insane. So the way that you find your story, this is another formula, is you ask yourself 3 steps of questions. Number 1, what was my greatest defeat? Number 2, what's my greatest victory? And number 3, how did I get there? When you chart that course, you have multiple little checkpoints, and each one of those little checkpoints had their own defeat, victory, and how I got over it stories. Figure those out. You will never run out of content.
That is gold right there.
I love that. Wow.
Well, because one of the things Joe and I talk about, and I'm sure I've probably told you this off recording before, is, we try to write an email to our list every day. We want to have a daily email go out. And for me, I'm fairly good at writing the emails once I've got the concept in mind, but it's having the ideas for a daily email that I tend to struggle with. And just what you said right there is kind of like, all right, there's my sort of writer's block cure for emails.
Oh, dude, we could like hash out, just brainstorm based off of that right there.
Yeah, you have so many different places that you can work, and everyone has these. You might be sitting there thinking, I don't have that many struggles to what I did.
BS.
Really, if you're a yoga teacher, why are you a yoga teacher? Ask yourself that. Because I love yoga and it's happy. Okay, but why did you go into yoga? What was the key reason? Well, my back hurt, and I did yoga and it really helped my back, and I started helping my mom, and she started to get better, and then like you have all these different like checkpoints that you just basically hit to get to the point where you're a yoga teacher today. And the whole reason you did it was because you had a bad back. Now, guess what? You can specialize in helping people heal bad backs, and you have a business that's thriving because you just did that. That was your starting point.
So here's a question. It's super selfish, and it'll be obvious why in a second. How would you suggest doing that when promoting podcast episodes? Do I tell our guest's journey, or do I tell a journey about like the insights I got from the guest? What would you recommend in that area?
It depends on familiarity. If you have huge familiarity with your guest, like you, me, and Joe, we're friends. That was such a bold assumption, Adil, but still.
Maybe. Yes.
Well, I guess we are.
We are confirmed. We're friends.
Yes. Yay. Happiest day ever. That was like the first time we spoke as well, that we just both went and was like, did we just become best friends? I think we just did. But what I'm saying is like, so like with us, I let anyone that knows me, that I know that can, we've had conversations, they've seen what I do, how I just pull copy out of like my mind just easily. Like they've seen all this stuff about me. I actually prefer them to write an email that's kind of like, if we were promoting this podcast, I'd just want you guys to like, hey, so this is Adil. Adil is, and then just give like a quick outline of how you know me. It's like, he's this copywriter and we met through our buddy, Brad. In fact, we put out this Facebook post, and once we got on his show, he just basically ripped me for like 10 minutes before the show, saying how he's tried to get me on his show for 4 years. That kind of thing. Yeah, so we actually, after we had that call, we realized that we wanted him on our show. So we asked him, he said yes, and now here it is. And this is what we cover inside the show. So it's familiar based, and it sounds like a friendly email reminded from a friend saying, hey, you need to go check this out. Whereas if it's someone that you don't really know all that well, like you've hung out with them or you've spoken to them, like you know of them, but you've not really got to know them. You got to know them on the show, like a little bit. You've had guests where you're like, oh, this person's cool, but I don't think I'd speak to them for like every day or like every week. I don't want to touch base with them every week.
Yeah,
they're just like, they're a cool person, but they're busy. We got our own life.
Right.
We all have those people, clearly. What I would do then is I would use my experience with their story. So it'd be something along the lines of, hey, so just a quick heads up, today's guest went from complete poverty, had no idea what they were doing. If you like, imagine you like interviewed Stephen Pressfield, like he was a quote unquote ne'er-do-well until he was 40 years old, had no idea what he was doing. and then things just clicked into place for him after 40. And this is all the stuff that he did. And he's gone to write these amazing books. In fact, when we had him on the show, these are some of the things that we covered. And then you put like 3 to 5 bullet points.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just say, also tomorrow, what I'll do is I'll send out a reminder email, kind of gleaning off what I picked up from this interview, what Joe and I picked up from this interview, but send us an email back to this address, or just hit reply or post on our social media page and tell us what you picked up from this recording with Stephen Pressfield. And you have the links throughout. Now, what that does, it also creates engagement. It creates social interaction, basically makes you look great with email service providers. And ultimately, it builds in another reason to email them the next day. Because when you send them the next day, you're like, so yeah, yesterday, like we had some great feedback. Or if you haven't put any feedback, go here and like leave us some feedback and listen to the show. These are some of the things that I picked up while talking to Stephen Pressfield, and just was really cool like this. Now you've hit them with 2 separate promotions about the same person over a 2-day period, and they're completely different approaches to get people to listen.
I love that.
Yeah, no,
that just knocks out like, even 2 more emails every week.
Yeah.
The follow-ups, and you can always tie it back into, another product or something else that's going on in our whatever we're doing.
Yeah.
And yeah, it relates us to that guest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because with our list, when I mail about offers, right? Like if I'm saying, hey, here's a cool tool that we use, here's a promotion we're doing on one of the courses that we sell, we get like insane response rates. We get amazing opens, amazing click-throughs whenever I'm promoting like something for people to buy. For whatever reason, when I promote podcast episodes and I'm like, hey, here's the latest, and we use a very similar formula to what you kind of laid out of like, hey, if we know them real well, hey, here's how we know them. Here's, some of the stuff we talked about. Here's like a bullet list breakdown of some of the cool takeaways you'll get. Go listen here. Kind of a similar kind of formula, but we get like 50% of like the click-through rate on podcast episodes and just content than we do when we're actually trying to sell people something, which seems very counterintuitive to me, but I think it just shows we have a list of people that enjoy our recommendations and buying stuff, but they're not necessarily always in the mood for content from us.
Possibly, but what are your subject lines generally when you're like sending out an email for a podcast?
Oh, I mean, it's all over the place.
Yeah,
I'm testing different stuff all the time. I don't have any sort of subject line formula for emails. It's just
a lot of how-tos involved typically.
It used to be, yeah. I stopped doing those because we stopped getting response from them on our list.
Right.
But a lot of times now it's kind of more blind subject lines. I'm trying to think of an example, but it's kind of like blind to what the topic is to try to get the email opened. Once somebody gets into the email, it's kind of a more breakdown of here's what you're going to learn on the episode. Our open rates stay pretty consistent between promotional emails and podcast emails. It's our click-through rate on those emails that take a big nosedive whenever I'm trying to drive traffic to content versus something for sale.
So that's just to give you guys a quick little idea of a simple fix. And by the way, welcome everyone else to the same conversation that's going to take part. This is a fly on the wall conversation, really, because I would tell them this in private. But hey, it's content. It will be great for you guys.
That's right.
So something you could literally take from this email and turn to a subject line would be, if your CTRs suck, listen to this. Or if you don't know how to find your journey, if you don't know how to find your voice, or if you don't know how to create your own hero's journey, here's how, listen to this, or click here, whatever the plan headline is. Mm-hmm. When you write through the copy, when you start so this is how we know, and blah, blah, blah. By the way, you can even throw in like real senses of humor in this. And it's like, hey, Adil, just sending you this email letting you know that we actually, we met this other guy. He's blah, 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 great guy, whatever. And you say, by the way, you might want to listen to this if your business isn't doing these things. If you don't know what your story is, if you're not getting at least a 10% conversion rate on your sales pages to your warm list, if you're having trouble getting whatever it is, if your webinars aren't converting at 30, 40, 50%, give them any reasons of where they're failing in their business in relation to what they're teaching or what they're talking about on the podcast, that gets the click through, and you have to make sure and highlight those with hyperlinks. Put those as the hyperlinks.
Oh, gotcha. So you're saying if you're struggling with CTR, you need to listen to this. That's the actual link in the email.
Exactly. If your landing page copy is less than 30% on cold traffic, not even listen to this. It's you just have that. What we cover in this interview is why landing page copy below 30% sucks. and then that's the hyperlink. So like that, you don't tell them to click, you just put the hyperlink in the word, and then you have like one very strong CTA, which is like, hey, go here and listen to this, and this is why. So like, go here, click this, and listen to this podcast. Real quickly, if you don't, this will happen, or if you do, this is what you'll expect on the show. You give them like benefits, not just so much like what we talk about, like benefits that they could apply right away. And it's just one of those things. Like for this thing, you can even say like how this conversation started out really hilarious and fun, and then just became like, holy shit, this is a masterclass that he's just like riffing off everything that he knows to give to you.
Yeah. I like that whole, it's almost like the negative spin on, it's not like here's what you can get out of this. It's like, no, let's look at what you already have. And if it's not actually meeting these benchmarks that we put in these hyperlinks, people are like, well, one of the things, I'm intrigued now. I got to fix myself.
Well, just speaking into that point, one of the things that Travis Sago used to always say, and probably still does, I just haven't talked to him in a while, but he always said that people are way more willing to spend money to move away from pain than they are towards pleasure.
Yep.
There you go.
And so if we're writing copy that's essentially like, if you miss this, here's the potential consequences, I think that's way more powerful than listen to this because here's what you're going to get from it.
And I would think like these people are in the game already. Yeah. You know, they want to improve. Kind of. It's not like, here's what I can do. It's like, it's great. I don't really need it. But like, no, I got something and shit ain't working right.
Yeah, but here's the real powerful aspect. You want to only make that, here's what you're going to be missing out, like 10 to 20% of the copy and the rest being the other way of what they'll gain.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's a blend. It's one of the reasons why my sales letters do convert higher than most others. It's because I follow Jay Abraham's thought process. Like, I'm not going to stab you in the back and make you feel like you're shitty and then you have to buy from me to like relieve this pain. Rather, I'm going to make you aware that if you don't take care of this, these are the consequences. But the rest of the copy is going to be telling you about the promised land. Like, it's not all gloom, doom, and hell. It's like, hey, here's all the reasons why you want to go to heaven, but hey, just a quick heads up, these are the things that will get you to hell.
Yes.
So it's like, it's like a dynamic of conversation. They get both sides, and that's what causes buying frenzies.
Yeah.
I love it.
And it's relatable too. You understand the issues they're going through and what they're capable of.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I like it.
I love this. I know I'm sure we can actually probably carry on for another hour and a half. But due to other time constraints we have today, unfortunately, we're going to have to wrap up. But I can almost guarantee with no doubt in my mind that there'll be a round 2 at some point.
I'm pretty positive of that.
If you're open to it. That is a strong assumption I'm making on my part.
So strong.
I'm sorry. I made the assumption that we were friends and that worked out. You made an assumption that we're going to be on a podcast. Yeah, it's pretty much gold.
That's a gimme right there. The friends thing, he was going for.
Yeah. He took a risk, put himself out on a limb, and it paid off, I think.
I think it paid off. It's cool. We're still talking.
Yeah. More so, it's also in public record now. So yeah.
Oh shit.
You know, we have editors, right?
Yeah, but we've admitted it like 7 or 8 times.
We're just gonna dub in no. Like, we're friends, right? No. And then just move on with the conversation and never address it again. Like, editing is magic, dude.
True, but then again, I also am relying on the propensity to know that you guys don't like editing.
You're accurate in that fact.
Yeah, you found our hell right there. We do not edit shit on this podcast.
Well, that's what we were joking around when you walked away for 20 seconds. I'm like, Adil could probably just like, or if we walk away for 20 minutes, Adil's just going to spit random crap, promote his stuff, and we're never going to know because it just goes live without us actually hearing the podcast.
You know what's really messed up? If you listen back to a transcript of this, I think I actually did that for like 20 minutes. It just went off on a rant.
It's all right.
It's cool. If we weren't enjoying it, we would have stopped you. Trust me.
That is true. Matt and I did not look at each other and be like, what the?
Not yet, at least.
All right, so I got a couple last minute questions before we wrap up here. You actually already mentioned one book in the call, the Crucifix Killer by
Chris Carter. Yep,
Chris Carter.
By Chris Carter. Yep. Any other books that you highly recommend our audience go check out, or that you tend to refer to often, or that you recommend often?
The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene, that just came out. That's an excellent book to understand how people think, act, and really is in depth.
Ooh, I like that.
I'd suggest getting the audiobook version because it's 28 hours of content. Get both and use it as a reference manual. Trust me, it's worth If you're on Audible, it's like 1 credit, so get a trial membership. So it's like worth like the $25 that you pay.
Cool.
You'll pay dividends. The other one, also pick up 48 Laws of Power, but you can get that on YouTube or whatever.
I've read the 50th Law. That's the only Robert Greene I've read, and that was the one that was referencing 50 Cent, but it was actually really good. I listened to it on audiobook, and 50 Cent actually voices his parts in it.
I remember that, yeah.
It's an excellent book. That's basically every Robert Greene book is one of my favorite books. Everything that he's ever done. So if I had to recommend one, start with Laws of Human Nature because it's brilliant. Don Leslie does the voice for the 48 Laws of Power, and you guys would love his voice. It's so well for that book genre. But okay, moving on. Another book that I'd actually recommend that everyone pick up and read. That's actually more to do with like story-based understanding is Wired for Story by Lisa Cron. That's C-R-O-N.
What was the name of the book again? Can you repeat that?
Wired for Story.
Wired for Story.
Wired for Story. Okay, got it.
Yeah, it's a great book, like absolutely amazing. She basically teaches you how to hook a reader in from the get-go when writing a book, and you take those same principles and put them in your business. You're ready to go. But yeah, those are the books. Oh, and another one, the Evergreen Traffic thingy. What's it called?
Evergreen Traffic Playbook.
Oh, the playbook.
Yeah, that's a really good book to read. Like, I hear the authors are like a little bit, they're a little jerky sometimes, but you get along with them. They're fine.
They can really be dicks. It's true.
Yeah, but they're pretty trustworthy. I think they know what they're doing.
The prima donnas, their egos are like insane
through the roof. There is no roof on Matt's house anymore because our egos just busted through it.
There you go.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Do you have any like tools or software or anything like that you just kind of can't live without now that you use them?
God, there's so many. Let's go with Slack is pretty good though. I'm still not a huge fan of it, but I do like Slack on my phone.
Slack's good. You gotta have something better than that. What you got?
Yeah. Oh, I have don't worry, I'm getting to it. Like, so Brain FM is one of my favorites.
Ooh, Brain FM's a good one.
I have, yeah.
I'm surprised. I don't think I've heard anybody else recommend that in a long time, but Brain FM's really good.
I love that kind of stuff, yeah. Brainwaves.
They've got a great update coming up, by the way, and I'll tell you guys why very quickly after the show.
Although I've actually tend to do more of that Brain FM stuff just through Spotify, because Spotify has a whole bunch of that kind of stuff on it now.
I use different apps, but I'm curious about what the update is.
Send me the goddamn links to the Spotify stuff, guys. Another like a really, really fun app that I do like to use is
Pornhub.
Where is it? It's not. They don't have an app for that yet.
He knows.
I'm actually the guy that's like contested, like helping them. Like, come on, guys, we need to do this.
You're really missing the boat here, guy. Although it wouldn't get approved onto the Apple Store, so
that's probably true. Right? Android, though, I don't care.
These other three apps are for iPad only, and they are Notability. Great for taking notes by hand. I actually use it for like my day-to-day journaling as well.
Are you an iPad Pro and pencil guy?
I actually got the iPad 9.7 because I realized you can use a pencil on that as well.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's
you guys actually pushed me towards it because I was going to get the Remarkable, but then you guys were like, get an iPad. I was like, fine, I'll get an iPad.
Which is funny because neither of us have iPad Pros with iPencils yet either.
We know a lot of people
that do, and we both have talked about getting them, and we just haven't done it yet.
There hasn't been a burning desire yet to read. All right, what else you got? So that was Notable, right?
Notability. And the last one is Procreate on iPad as well, which is an artist app. It's just really good for drawing and sketching. My thing to relax is I watch Bob Ross and I try and paint along.
That is awesome.
Dude, all right.
I could totally see doing that myself, actually.
I've used Procreate on my sister's iPad. She's an artist, and I found it absolutely amazing. I did I did it. It was like 3 hours. I was just freaking sketching my dog, because he could like trace over a picture. And it was amazing. And then Bob Ross, we were on a plane actually going to Orlando, and I watched an episode of Bob Ross. I'm like, holy shit. He's just like, he just makes you feel good. I just forgot about it. It was like 83 or something. And I could see, everything's in layers. You kind of see the steps, and Procreate's a perfect example of how you can implement that now.
That's rad.
Oh, I agree.
Perfect meditation practice too.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
wrapping
cool.
up then.
Well, what
was there another one?
Well, how about your courses? I know you mentioned that. Where can people go find those?
Well,
if they go check out the copywritersroom.com, by the time the show comes out, it should be at its actual price, which is $495. if it's for whatever reason still at $9.95, just enter the coupon code hustle, or actually, yeah, just put hustle, and you'll basically get like $500 off. So it'll be $4.95 for you to actually get in, and that's divulging all my knowledge on how I write sales copy, including 10 different niches were actually on there, like 10 different businesses. And I actually, on what I did with you guys, where I just started dictating copy.
Yeah.
I started dictating copy in different markets for them, like one after the other. And they were like, how are you doing this? It's like, I'm just making it up, and it works. One of the best ones was a newborn photographer. She was like, how would you sell a newborn photography? She messaged me afterwards and said that I started crying. That's why I had to leave. I had to mute myself. I was like, why? She was like, because that was the story that I gave that's the story of how I feel like when I used to do it, and why I actually trained my son to do it, because I want him to capture these moments of pure joy and beauty for the parents and families. And that generated like $100,000 for like their business.
Wow. That's amazing.
What was it? Yeah. That's the copywritersroom.com?
Yeah, .com. The copywritersroom.com.
And enter hustle.
And we're also going to make sure we link up to your podcast. Your podcast is called
Adil Amarsi Unplugged.
Adil Amarsi Unplugged. Check it out. They have some amazing guests coming out this month who don't have egos at all.
No egos. They might be an author of a traffic book that is really good, but they have egos.
They don't have egos.
So we'll make sure we link up to the podcast. Hopefully that episode's live around the same time this one goes live, so we can sync it all up. And,
for sure. And it'll be good, because we have the same person that does our release schedule. So I'm sure we can speak to them and be like, hey,
that is true.
Well, that's right. You work with Tiga too, right?
Totally forgot about that.
Yeah, just dude, can you make sure like all our shows like release at the same time?
Well, Tiga's hearing this right now, so
Tiga, make it happen.
Guys.
All right, Adil.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Of course. Yeah, we'll talk soon.
Take care, guys.
All right. Thank you. And I hope you just enjoyed this episode you just listened to. Now, right now, before we sign off, I have a few things I would love for you to do. So the very first thing is to go find our guest on Facebook and tell them that you loved their episode with us. That's going to help them just feel good about themselves, but also it's going to spread the word a little bit more for us. So go find them on Facebook. Everybody's on Facebook, and go say that you love their episode and maybe one cool thing that you learned there. The second thing is to go to iTunes and subscribe to our podcast. Just look up Hustle and Flowchart and hit the subscribe button. And the very last thing, the third thing, is to leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this podcast and help us spread the word more. That's how more people are going to get this awesome knowledge, this cool podcast training, and a whole bunch of other cool free training that we give out at evergreenprofits.com. So that's about it. Go find them on Facebook, go subscribe on iTunes, and leave us a review. You would be amazing if you did that, but you're always amazing. So thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode.